Are King Charles and Princess Anne ready to forget their old feuds? Anne's role in the royal family recently became much more visible. People can't help but wonder, does she want to upstage her brother or just help him become a good king? The Princess Royal made history while honoring the late Queen. She became the first ever woman to stand vigil. Historically, it is only attended by male members of the family. And Anne was the only one of Elizabeth's children to accompany her mother's coffin on its way through Scotland. This led to rumors that she'll become the new king's right hand. Of course, it's natural for siblings to be there for each other while going through a hard time. But given Charles and Anne's past, their sudden closeness seems suspicious. There have been rumors about multiple feuds for most of their life. What's more, it's not the first time Anne has seemingly tried to outshine her brother. So, when did their rivalry start? And are they now playing on the same team because of the late Queen's dying wish? Born 2 years apart, Charles and Anne were just toddlers when their mother suddenly ascended to the throne. They relied on each other while adapting to their new life.
Always such fun playing hide and seek in those dunes.
Unfortunately, that closeness didn't last. And later in life, the royal siblings didn't have the best relationship. Most of their difficulties were because of Charles and Anne's totally opposite personalities. He's timid and quiet, while she is much more extroverted and self-confident. Anne has always been a natural leader with strong ambitions, and in her shadow, Charles often looks like a weaker man. Even physically, she seems much stronger and more robust. According to royal biographer Nicholas Courtney, Anne once had her boxing gloves taken away when they were kids, all because the family feared that she'd inflict too much damage on her brother. Besides this, due to her hard-working nature, Anne was her parents' favorite, and it reportedly got under Charles's skin. Especially as, growing up, Anne frequently broke the rules and got away with it. Like when she refused to give her kids royal titles so that they wouldn't have to follow the strict protocols. What's more, Anne has always tried to get the same titles her brother had. For example, as per her request, Queen Elizabeth II granted Anne the title Knight of the Garter, rather than a Lady of the Garter, just so she would hold the same level of honor and rank as Charles. These days, Anne remains one of the most meticulous members of the royal family. Last year, for example, she carried out more official engagement than her elder brother. Due to their continuous competitiveness and multiple disagreements, the royal siblings never got on too well. Anne herself once said that she and Charles fought like cats and dogs. But their biggest feud reportedly lasted for 50 years. It involved Charles's current wife, and it all began with unrequited love. Turns out that Anne's first boyfriend was Andrew Parker Bowles. He and Camilla weren't married yet, and he broke up with her to be with the princess. Allegedly, it made the future Duchess furious. Seeking revenge, Camilla began dating Anne's elder brother, Charles. According to a royal biographer, she just wanted to teach her ex a lesson. And when Andrew later reconciled with Camilla and married her, it was Anne's turn to become infuriated. But Parker Bowles wasn't the only girlfriend of Charles whom his sister didn't approve. Reportedly, she also disliked his first wife, Diana. 2 days before her wedding to Charles, Anne held her daughter's christening. Understandably, Diana couldn't attend because she had to prepare for her big day, but it looks like Anne held a grudge against her, because 3 years later, the Princess Royal didn't come to the christening of Diana's son, Harry. As years went by, Charles and Camilla reunited. They eventually tied the knots, and Anne seemed to have accepted her brother's new wife. But according to an insider, there's still bitterness between them, and they will probably never become real friends. A royal expert claims that Anne has always intimidated Camilla. On a few occasions, onlookers noticed signs that their relationship is quite frosty. For example, the public found out that Anne refused to curtsy to Camilla. She allegedly claimed that she's been doing royal duties long enough and didn't have to make obeisance to a simpler woman. But were Anne and Charles's feuds really that bad? Some royal historians report that they actually weren't. Dickie Arbiter, for example, says that the siblings have always loved each other despite the rocky periods. The relationship between them is often compared to that of Elizabeth II and Princess Margaret. They also had their ups and downs, but remained close through the struggles. And recently, the royal siblings had the ultimate test of their bond. Charles and Anne were the only two people present at their mother's bedside when she passed away. It was hard for them to see the Queen's final moments, but at least it gave them a little private mourning time before the whole world learned about the tragedy. The shared sorrow probably strengthened Charles and Anne's relationship even more. Experiencing the enormous stress together and adapting to their new reality might help the royal siblings finally overcome their differences. They grew up as a strong unit, and it's certainly time for them to become one again. After all, Charles and Anne have a lot in common. Among other things, they share a similar sense of humor. Even in their 70s, they still act goofy around one another. Like in this clip, where Charles did the good old sneak attack on his younger sister. So it's doubtful that Anne is trying to upstage Charles. In fact, she shared years ago that she's accepted the role of being second to her brother. All she's doing now is trying to help him, and there may well be a good reason for that. There's a rumor that before passing away, Queen Elizabeth II asked Anne to look after Charles. The Princess Royal promised to fulfill her mother's dying wish. And from her behavior these days, we can see that she intends to keep that promise. Now that Charles is king, having his sister by his side will be very beneficial. After all, she has the qualities he lacks and can teach him to be a better leader. The Princess Royal is fully committed to the crown, and she'll be a faithful and loyal ally. So Charles will probably continue to rely on Anne as he takes the throne. And royal historians say that if he does, it'll be a wise decision. Do you agree that Anne will help Charles become a good king?